Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say come. You know he's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, a walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on. Spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul, to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come and rescue me. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Come, come. He's calling. Calling you. Come today. Come, don't wait.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say come. You know he's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, a walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on, spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. One message of salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul, to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come and rescue me. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Come, come. He's calling. Calling you. Today, don't wait.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say come. You know he's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, a walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on, spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Come, His promise is true. Hold on to Him and He'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but His promise is true. Hold on to Him and He'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. One message of salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul, to spread His truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come and rescue me. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Come. He's calling. Calling you. Today, don't wait.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say come. You know He's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on. Spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill His mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But His promise is true. Hold on to Him and He'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but His promise is true. Hold on to Him and He'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come and rescue me. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You take for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on. Spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. One message of salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul, to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come and rescue me. Come into lost places. The laborers are few. Come.
unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say He's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on. Spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come rescue me. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Come. He's calling. Calling you. Come. Today. Come. Don't wait. Come.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say come. You know he's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace, you're moving forward, walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on, spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. One message of salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come and rescue me. Come into lost places. The laborers are few. Come, come. He's calling, calling you. Come today. Come, don't wait.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
You say come. You know he's called you for such a time as this. You run the race, you set the pace. You're moving forward, a walk by faith, but still there's so much going on. So much going on, spreading the gospel far and wide to fulfill his mandate, leaving no one behind. When all your toiling seems in vain, the one who made you calls your name. He has a plan for your life. Come into lost places. The Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. Come, come. rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will see you through. Oh, I said the road may be rocky, but his promise is true. Hold on to him and he'll see you through. When everybody runs away, Jehovah comes to save the day. He will change your life. Oh, come into lost places. Come, the Father is awaiting. Come, people are hurting. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. One message of salvation for all. Come like Elijah, come like Ruth, come like Paul to spread his truth into the valleys, into the deep. After the Lord saying, come rescue me, come into lost places.
Physically and those on the virtual platforms. Conaree Wesleyan Men Group welcomes you. Today we'll be doing a panel discussion on understanding my role as a man. Before we go any further, we'll begin with some prayer. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you, Lord, for giving us the opportunity to be here today, Lord. Lord, I pray, Lord, that this discussion is fruitful, Lord. Lord, and at the end of it, persons are able to take away something that is beneficial and applicable to their lives. Amen. I will now introduce the panelists, Brother Grenion, Brother Poxon, Brother Morris. Brother Grenion is the vice president of the Bastille Men's Group, but he has been involved in various church ministries in the past. He is a teacher and counselor who has worked with various family and youth-based programs in Jamaica and St. Kitts. He is currently a teacher at the Washington Archibald High School. Brother Poxon is a pastor at the Sandy Point Wesleyan Holiness Church. He is a banker with over 20 years of experience. He has a bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's degree in business administration. He is currently pursuing a master's of art with specialization in theology. He is an open-minded individual with a desire to see others develop. He has a wife and an adorable son. Brother Terry Morris is involved in the local church. He is the men's secretary at the St. Paul's Wesleyan Holiness Church. He is former district Wesleyan men's president. He is a teacher, social worker, HIV and AIDS advocate. He specializes in programming at-risk individuals and vulnerable populations. He's the district manager of NEMA, District 6 volunteer team, certified regional instructor, USAID, and the Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance. He's also a project management consultant. Under the topic of understanding my role as a man, there are 3 subtopics. The first subtopic is understanding my role in the home, which will be presented by Brother Grenion. The second is understanding my role in the church, which will be presented by Pastor Poxon. The third will be understanding my role in the community, which will be presented by Brother Morris. Before we go into the meat of the matter, just some housekeeping information. The panelists will present on the different topics, and then the floor will be open to questions. In regards to the question segment, you raise your hand and indicate. Then once you're selected, you state your question and the panelists to whom that question would be directed towards. We'll now start with Brother Grenion.
Good night, everybody. How long do I have again?
8 minutes.
All right. Let me thank the men of this church for inviting me to be a part of this panel. And like you heard, I will be addressing, in my 8 minutes, understanding my role as a man in the home. Now, the world offers a lot of confusing points as to what the role of a man should be in the home. Many people think, many believe, and some say that a man is in the home, it requires grit, determination, and being tough. Others think strength, power, authority, protection, provision, and leadership. And still there are others who would include a good work ethic, you must have a lot of money, must be physically built well, and you must be known for your sexual prowess. Now, from a Christian viewpoint, the man of the house is expected to exercise self-control, patience, love, kindness, generosity, and wisdom in guiding his household in the ways of the Lord. By doing so, he reflects Christ in his household, and God's will is accomplished. Men play a vital role in the family, and being involved in the family helps men, helps their relationships and their family. This involvement can also positively impact on a man's community, and Brother Terry will be addressing that later on. Now, for this setting, when I speak of relationship, I will be speaking within the context of marriage, but the principles apply to other relationships such as common law, visiting union, and the like. All right, and I want to look at the man in a husband role first of all. Let's look at the man as a husband. If we were to take a look at the men in their role as husbands, we would observe that a good relationship between a husband and a wife involves trust, respect, and care. For both husband and wife to show these things to each other, it means that they recognize each other's values as different people. As a husband, the man has a particular role to support his wife and appreciate her for what she does for the family and the care with which she does this. A woman with a loving husband, and by extension a loving partner, can better provide for the family knowing that she has the support of her man. A wife that feels appreciated and listened to will certainly benefit the relationship. For a husband to care for and support his wife, He may support her to work and provide financially for the family, thank her for caring for the children and other family members, for looking after the house, as well as help her with these duties. Now, we also want to look now at the man as a father. We know that children look to both their mother and father as role models, and they become what they are because of the parents' advice and support. In particular, the father can pass on his knowledge and values to his children, making sure the things that he believes are important are carried on to the next generation. The father can do this by the positive example he sets and by spending time with his children and giving them advice. A father can teach his children the knowledge he has gained from his own work and experience, giving them the skills they need to be hardworking and successful when the time comes for them to take care of themselves and their families. The example a father sets as a husband can also show a young boy how to treat a woman and a young girl to seek a good man. The support a father gives his wife in raising children and also means that both parents can share the work that needs to be done and make sure they are there with their children as much as possible. This reduces the chances of a child turning to a life of crime or living a bad life. Children with a supportive father have been shown to be happier and more successful. Now, if men want to be successful in their relationships, in their marriages, and in their family life, they have to change and broaden their definition of what it means to be a successful man. Being a good provider, a protector, a leader, and a teacher is a privilege that men should welcome and comes with responsibilities that many men aren't aware of. And as such, let's break down these responsibilities that men should embrace. The first role to embrace is that of a provider. Most men believe that being a good provider means supporting a family financially. And while this is important, it means much more than that. A man should also contribute to the emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental health of his family. In order to do this, he must recognize that there are other currencies other than money that needs to be provided. Let's look at another role in terms of being a protector. Being a protector means more than beating up the guy next door or threatening the guy who make a pass at your wife or who insults her. It means protecting her self-esteem and self-worth, as well as that of your children's. It can also mean protecting your way of life and guarding against any threats to the things that you and your family value. A man as a leader, instead of waiting for your wife or your partner to take the initiative when you are having problems, take the lead. Get in the game and create what you want in your relationship, in your family, instead of complaining about your family situation. Marriage or relationship is not a 50-50 partnership. It's a 100-100 partnership. That means everyone needs to give 100% in order for it to thrive. Remember, you get what you give. And finally, being a teacher. What are you teaching those around you, especially your children, with your behavior? It's important to provide a good example for your children, your loved ones, and your community with both your words and your deeds. Set high standards and teach by doing. That's my intro. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Grenion. We'll now move on to Pastor Poxon.
Good evening to one and all. And let me say thank you for your patience in waiting on me as I had another responsibility in Deep Bay. The question before us is, what is the role of the man in the church? Some may look at it and say, hey, the man must stand out as just the dominant, as the leader. But I want to say if man or is a male gender is going to understand his role in the church, it must first start with him understanding his role in the home, then in the community, and then the church. Why I put it that way? And I'm going to use the base of my argument to you from Timothy, because quite often we look at, and as we look at Scripture, quite often we do not see in Scripture a specific layout or role for man. Quite often we see in Scripture where it says, woman not to do, woman not to do, woman not to preach, woman not to lead. And so quite often people think because Scripture say, well, in Timothy chapter 3, that women are not to preach. Quite often we take it for granted here, well, if a woman not supposed to do it, it befalls for a man or the male gender to be the preacher, to be the teacher, and to always be the one at the front. So let me start there as we look at, because a lot of the arguments of the role of man come from the text of Paul and Timothy, where both made the case that women should not be leaders in the church. Women should not be preaching. Women should not be teaching. One of the things we must understand, what is the context in which then and why both Paul and Timothy put that forward to the church? If we are to go back to biblical history, we must remember that back then society was male-dominated. Back then, women were not allowed to advance their education. And even if you go back further into biblical history, there were a few women who were as educated as men. And even when you go further back into the Old Testament, there were a few women who were in leadership. We think of Deborah, the judge. We think of Queen Sheba. So there were a few women back then who had prominent position and position of leadership. Few women who were educated enough. But in the era of Paul and Timothy, and remember that Paul came from a background, a militant background, being a commander and a leader in the Roman military, which was dominated by males. Again, we have to go back as to what was happening in Bible times, matter of heresy and what was going on with a number of the women, why both Paul and Timothy argued for them to stay in the background, I want to put it lightly, and not to be leaders in the church. With all of that said then, what is the role of man? Is it that as males, we are called just to lead? We are called just to be the pastors, to be the deacons, to be at the forefront of the church? When we look at a number of our churches throughout the world and even here in St. Kitts, when you look at the ratio of women to men, you have way, way more women than men. When you call for early morning prayer meetings or late night prayer meetings, you're finding who? Women. When you call to clean the sanctuary, you're finding who? Women. When you call to lead worship, who you're finding? Women. But what is then is the role of men? Men are saying, well, if you have women in all of these things, where's your role? I want to start where the Bible put it. We are all workers together in ministry. And so when we go back to creation, back to the doctrine of creation and the creation principle, God created, yes, man and woman equal in his image. Yes, as men, we are the leaders of our homes. Yes, as men, we are called to lead our families in ministry. But our leadership in the church also is based on our gift. Because if as a man, I don't have the gift of preaching. If as a man, I don't have the gift of being able to interpret and present scripture, should I be left to interpret and present scripture when I don't know my head from my elbow? Is it just because I'm a man I should be allowed to do? And so when the Bible and Paul speak of gifts, Paul said in scripture that we are to serve, we are to minister based on our gifts, based on our calling. So as I look at scripture, based on my own research and my own review, there is no specific role of a man. To say that the man must be this in the church and he must be that. We are a society where quite often we put forward the man. Let's even look at local settings. Politics, for example, leadership of a number of institutions. We quickly gravitate to put in the man because, yes, we are a male-oriented society. That's natural. And because we are a male-oriented society, a lot of things swing that way. But our role in the church and some of our responsibilities in the church. Let's look at Barnabas. As men, we are called also to encourage. Barnabas was there to encourage. When there was a division between Peter and Paul, Barnabas was there to bring a solution. As men, we are there to encourage. As men, we are there also to bring solutions. And I'm not touching leadership yet. We're there to encourage. We're there to bring solutions. You know, sometimes we say when all women come together, they can't make a decision and it's just confusion. But as men, we can come in and help with a solution. Instead, we just sit back, fold our arms and say, look, let them confusion them and do their own thing. But as men, we are called, yes, to bring and help with solution. As men, we are called, yes, to bring encouragement. As men, we are called to bring our skills to the table. What are some of our skills? Sometimes we have church events. Yes, there's some women who could lift some load like men. But as men too, we are called to help. We can't just sit back and say, well, hey, let the sisters do. As men, we are called to take up our gap. Let's now go a little further in terms of leadership and ministry. You see, because when men step up and take our godly responsibility of leadership, let's go back to the Garden of Eden. When God created man, what God did, he gave man the responsibility of naming all the animals. And after all of man's work was almost done, I want to put it that way, God realized man was lonely. And so he created woman to comfort man. But it seems as if over the years, somehow, we men have taken on an attitude that we must be domineering. It's not a partnership in ministry. As we are called to serve in ministry as members of our local churches and wherever we serve in ministry, it is not about man against woman. It's about a partnership in ministry. As the Bible put it, we are all workers together in ministry. So it is not to say, well, hey, man, your responsibility is to lift this. Your responsibility is to teach Sunday school. Your responsibility only is to preach. And woman, your only responsibility is to do this and to do that. I sum it up the best way. And I go back to Timothy. And I want to cap off in 1 Timothy 3, 1-16, because that was where he started out. And he puts it this way: a bishop must be blameless, a husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, good behavior. as I said on the outset, if man would understand their responsibility in the church, they must first understand their responsibility at home, which is being a good husband to their wife, as Brother Grenion labeled. Being vigilant, being sober, being of good behavior, this would show out in the community. And once he begins to set good standards, as he comes into the church, you'll see more as he performs.
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Poxon. We now move on to Brother Morris.
Good evening, all. I want to commend the Wesleyan men, Conaree, for this discussion that they would have organized this evening, and to encourage all of us to pay keen attention to what is shared, and also to ensure that we are mindful to ask questions so that we, as we deliberate, to ensure that we all leave here better equipped to make a difference, especially as it relates to the men. Now, we know that human beings are most evolved creatures on the earth, and we know that over the centuries we have managed to build advanced civilization. So society is structured in a way that guarantees responsibilities and duties, whether we deem them human or God-given duties, and specific roles are assigned to men and women, although each have equal standing. I just want to be mindful that I mentioned that each has equal standing, especially in light of the push for gender equality and equity and all of that. The duties of a man are performed by men for the general good of a society. Despite that, okay, women can do certain things that man can do, there are specific rules that are expected to be carried out by men. And if we are to reach persons and to make a difference, there are certain specific active involvements that are expected to be done by men. We all would agree with that. So my discourse this evening is to motivate us as men to become men of purpose to in our respective communities. And I will cover three main roles, three broad roles that I would want to encourage us to look at this evening. Now, first and foremost, we look at the role of men being to protect and preserve lives and livelihood in the community. To protect and preserve lives and livelihoods in their community. Now, in most societies, men are regarded as the defenders of the community. Isn't that so? Right? Men are expected because, they're expected to be stronger and things like that. It is up to them to ensure that their homes, their communities, their families are safe from internal and external threats. Right? So that is one of the things that has been guarded. And it dates way back where the men used to be the gatekeepers of the community, making sure that the women are safe, the children are safe, the entire community is safe. Men used to deal with addressing disputes that happen in the community, right? So that things could have been settled and well organized in the community. Undoubtedly, socialization has played a major role in enhancing the security role of men that men play in society. And we see it still in the defense force, in the police, in certain areas of service. We find it's mostly men because they were, from way back, seen as things that men would do, as defenders, as fighters, as persons who put up their lives in defense of or to protect their families. And so that is where all of that would have originated from. Men ought also to take leadership roles in society. We see it dwindling quite a bit, especially in certain arenas. Yes, in the political field, we see that. But in certain areas, in business and in other areas, we see it a bit waning away. But men ought to take leadership roles in society. And where that leadership role is not possible, men should still actively be involved in the life of the community. So whether or not we're in a leadership role or not, we have to make sure that still we have a role, a part to play, some sort of contribution to make in the community. Another value attributed to men is that of resourcefulness. We think of, say, men being handy, men being skillful, having various skills that are necessary in the community. And we have to make sure that we can contribute those skills to the development of our community. So the encouragement is that men should position themselves to get involved, become a member or associate or a partner with existing structures or initiatives in the community. Be men of purpose and do it with a passion. So it's essentially men are to be involved. How many men make sure that they're part of the PTA, that their children, for the school that their children go to? Maybe you might not be an executive, but how many men actually go to a PTA meeting to be actually involved, know what's happening in the school, know what's happening with your child or with your children. And that is one of the key roles that we should play. I remember some time back there as a teacher, and we had a PTA meeting, and there was a male in there, and one other male passed up the road and just looked in the hall and started laughing. But what are you doing in there, woman? What are you doing in there? A meeting they got, you know? So he saw it as though it's a woman's thing. So I want to encourage the men that if you are to be involved in your family, if you are to be involved in the church and make a difference, you have to make sure that you immerse yourself in what is happening in the community. Be part of the Parents Teachers Association. Be part of whatever clubs and organizations. Even if you're not actively involved, that you have some sort of association with them so that you can know that you're contributing to the development of the community. Be associated with the community groups and clubs, support the work of law enforcement, and also support programs such as the prison. Essentially, you have to make sure that the young people that are in there, the older persons that are in there, they will be released back into the community. And so as men, we are to see how best we can assist in making sure that there's proper reintegration so that we can reduce recidivism. We can make sure that when they come out, that we are preparing for them, assist them in settling back into the community, and ensure that we can be part of their lives so that they do not repeat, or as much as possible do not repeat what would have taken them there in the first place. So that is part of what the role is as it relates to protecting and preserving, being sure that we are there to defend and to uphold the law and promote it as well among the others. Now, the second thing I want to look at is evangelize and empower the men in the community. That essentially is the role of the men. Yes, the women usually go out, they do what they have to do, they're involved, but to my mind, essentially, the better persons to evangelize men will be men themselves. Because men will understand how men behave, their interests, their attitudes, and so on. And it will be best if they can reach out to other men, be involved. If they're on the dominant board, go along there with them and seek to, you know, not to say anything about Jesus, but just relating with them, ensuring that you can develop that sense of relationship so that you can be able to understand what they're going through and see how best you can help to intervene. Now, we know that when Jesus met with the disciples, he said, come and make you fishers of men. And essentially, that's what he's calling the men to do as well. But how do we fish? How do we fish? We need the bait, right? We need the bait to lure the fish. We have to have the net to be able to throw it out. But apart from that, we can have as much bait as we want. There is a skill in it. And apart from that, we need to go where the fish really is, right? Where the fish are, right? So wherever the fish, we know that the fish would be, we go. And if we know that they don't really bite here or bite here, we know we can find them on the dominant board, on the play field, wherever. We go in search of them so that we can make sure we can be able to draw them. We must invest time. As men, we must invest time in being able to, in reaching out to other persons. And it also requires patience and consistency. We can't just do it now and then leave them alone, and then do it, when it pops up in our head, we do it again. There must be consistency so that we can be able to make a difference. Now, we are to observe their behaviors, the attitude, interests, and the trends. Why do we need to do that? so that we can be proactive. We can be practical and we can be purposeful in seeking to implement the appropriate interventions. We have to hit the nail on the head especially when we're dealing with men. We have to make sure that we reach out and do what we have to do. So use activities that appeal to or attract the interest of men. And if you're also ministering to women, you have to make sure we understand as to what approach as well is necessary to do that. Be available as men. Most of the time, as you would have heard moments ago, most of the time the women, they just know to find time. They just know to find time. And even men, as men, will say we don't have any time. Well, we don't have any time, but we are sitting around. Maybe we're watching some sports. Maybe we're on the domino board for hours. Maybe we're on the play field for hours, and we don't have any time. So it is important that we're able to give, find time to give counsel, to provide advice, to teach, and to offer general support to the people in the community. So as men, we also can address social needs. There are lots of needs in the community, and we know that. We see it on a daily basis. How do we address that? We can make referrals. Persons who we know are going through things. Even if we ourselves on a personal basis cannot help, we know we can make referrals to the various ministries and the various agencies and so on, so that we can make sure that we're helping others to improve their lives and their livelihoods. There are employment issues in the community. How as men can we help? There's employment creation. A lot of us have skills. Maybe we have a business. Maybe we have a farm. There are little things that we can do, and we integrate the persons in the community into it so that we can ensure that we are able to address those needs. There are financial needs, medical situations, spiritual needs, and as men, we have to make sure that we seek to immerse ourselves to make sure that we get involved so that we can help also to make a difference.
Thank you very much, Brother Morris, for that input. At this point in time, we'll open the floor for questions. I know you guys heard a lot, and I'll be looking forward to a lot of questions, and the panelists will be, ready to answer your questions. Okay, first of all, in regards to Brother Grenion, the question that I have is, what are some challenges that men may encounter in the home in terms of understanding their role?
I think sometimes because of how they were brought up. And, we were brought up as men to be tough. And, you keep your feelings, your emotions bottled, so you don't share it. Realize that the number one problem many times is communication. And because most men keep their emotions in check and they don't talk, they don't communicate, they think the woman miserable, you understand, and all of that, and all the woman wants is understanding, you understand, want to have a conversation, and no man likes to hear the words, we need to talk, right? Nobody wants to hear that. And I think that's one of the main problems, communication. They don't take the time out to listen. They have been schooled to be tough. You understand? So you handle things, you handle the woman tough, you handle the children tough, that sort of stuff. And so I think it needs to reach a point where men understand that, the women not trying to bruise your ego or anything. They just want to talk. And many times if you have that communication with your person, your wife, your common law partner, whoever it is, then it will make it so much better. Sometimes, again, because of how they were brought up, they bring the same thing to the table with their children. So some will know it. You understand? My father and mother would have beat it into me, so I must beat it into you. You understand? I'm talk rough, and when we talk, you better listen. You understand? That sort of stuff. So there is no understanding. You understand? And I certainly was brought up where you hear that children should be seen but not heard. We know well with this modern type of children, and I say, go. You understand? They have an opinion. And you will hear, one of the things I hear so often in school is, I have rights. You understand? And so all these children nowadays, they understand they have rights. And sometimes they know so much more than the parents, and the parents don't put themselves in the know. So to answer your question, I think communication, sometimes they just need to, level Come down, let down the hair. It's funny, you have some homes where there's not even a laughter moment. You understand? Where that bonding and stuff like that is just rough. But I think number one is communication.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I like what you said in regards to the fact that in the home, that the relationship is not 50-50. It's 100%, and that is something that we really have to work on as men in the home. And what you're saying, in addition to that, is a chain reaction in regards to the children. So the home plays an important role in terms of showing the young men and young women the roles in their home. Okay? Another question. Do you think that the role of men in the home has evolved over time?
It sure has. This is for me, right? That once growing up, I give an example. Because, everything used to be so patriarchal, male-dominated, and women were seen as just to be in the homes. And you understand, I remember some years ago, my father said that the heaviest thing he must lift up in the house is a knife and fork. You understand? And some people take it to another level. I remember this woman, we used to laugh about it, but now when you're getting older, you realize, when he wouldn't help the woman even with household chores. So she's there mopping and cleaning, and he would be sitting on the chair, and when she comes in, just lift up her foot so she can clean under, and you understand? It has changed because now you realize that there are a lot of men who are now more domesticated. There are a few, my wife would tell me, and there are a few women who would tell me that there's nothing sexier than a man doing household chores. I don't know if that's true. You understand? But it does something to the psyche of women. You understand that you are pitching in. But one time, you see a lot of men now, they are in the kitchen. You understand? You have a lot, it may not be popular in the Caribbean, but you have stay-at-home dads who take pleasure in taking care of their kids. And so it has evolved. It's not like one time where it was just woman, a poor woman tired. I was here watching something, though it was funny, but that's how people think, where this man was calling in and talking about how the poor woman, this sort of stuff that she was doing and stuff like that. She was tired. He obviously saw that she was tired. And rather than helping, he just told her, you know what, take a few minutes to catch yourself before you go back. You understand? But one time it was just that. The poor woman tired, and the man not helping at all, because he saw himself as just provide the money and gone down the road and play domino football with the guys. So it is evolving.
Okay. In regards to a case where there's a single parent home, do you think that a young man coming up in that kind of environment, do you think that he can be able to develop good skills as a man when he is fully grown and he's ready to start his own family?
I don't want to hug it. Anybody else want to? Do you want me to? Or I don't want to seem like I'm hugging it. I can answer, but I don't know if my other panelists want to take a shot of it before I answer. So tell you what, I let them take a shot of it at it, and then I'll answer.
I will sum it and say it's up to training and how open that individual is. Yes, you might have grown up and see one thing at home, that your mother or the females in the house doing everything. As a child, my parents brought us up that, hey, we were taught to do everything. Cook, wash, clean, everything. And I tell you, even though I'm married, I do it. So a lot of it is your training and how you expose. And really, as a man, as a male, as you interact with more of your colleagues and your friends, you would see different things that you could add value to your own relationship. Okay.
Yeah, just to add, yes, it is actually based on the way you're socialized, the way that you're brought up, the values that are embedded in you. And like Pastor Paxton said, I too, from very small, my mother, worked at the estate there, at this, they call it the siding or sliding, at where the engine line, at the end of the engine, where they pack up the cane in the engine and so on. And so I would have had to even before going to school and so on, make sure, cook and do whatever, go across Belmont to take the food and those kind of things. So from very small, I would have learned to, wash your own clothes and do these things. And if we're able to pass these on and help both young men and women, the children, to recognize that these are values that they are to, and attributes that they are to grow up with, and help them to see the significance of that, is going to make a big difference.
All right. In a single parent home, whether it be male or female, a mother or a father, well, let's look at just the mother. It is true you have had persons who, they have come out really well, but it is a struggle. I don't remember his name, but he's a sociologist who wrote the book, My Mother Who Fathered Me. And being a counselor, I've seen quite a few of those where, because it's the mother alone, single parent, it's a struggle. The boy turned out bad, the company and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And this is where, as Pastor Parkson spoke about, and even Brother Morris spoke about in terms of the community, this is where men need to step up. I may know of the single mother over there with a child, you understand, whether daddy or bombing dead, whatever it is, you understand, what can I do? You understand? You realize the young man is going a party, or the young girl is going a particular way. Then you need to, see how you can step in and help, because really and truly it's a struggle. Just recently, I was talking with, just as Friday, one of my sisters, and she's much older than me, and she doesn't know her father. And, she's a counselor, and, when she speaks about it, and there are many young girls she come across who they never knew their father, and she's able, because of her own experience, she can reach them, talk to them. It's a struggle because, let's face it, in a home where there's no man, right, mommy can do her best to a certain point. There are just some things some man do that a woman can't do. And there are some things that a woman do that a man just can't do. You understand? So you need that balance. I'm fortunate, and many of us are fortunate to have that balance, but not many persons have. And it takes quite a lot more, because mommy or daddy now have to play a dual role in the life of that child or those children. But to answer your question, yes, there have been many based on the environment, and you have some parents who have very strong values, and they make sure that they instill that in their children, and the children take heed to it, and they grow up well.
Okay, thank you. For those men out there who may be looking for some scriptural guidance in regards to understanding the role in the home much better, what scriptures would you recommend for them?
I think you want to pass that.
That's correct. I concur.
So I'll defer to Pastor.
He got me there. In terms of scripture, I would want to look at, just bring your mind to a few. When we look at the qualifications for a bishop, Peter talks about how the bishop, male in that context, must be the husband of one wife. We go further down as Peter taught that a husband must love his wife as Christ loved the church. In Christ's love in the church, there is what? Forgiveness, right? There's mercy. And same way, the husband must show love, must show mercy. It's a fact that sometimes as men, we are quick to fly off on the handle. And things ain't going our way, we're quick to snap. But does Christ snap at us? We mess up big time. Big time we mess up. And in mercy and love, he comes around. And using the same analogy as husbands, as men in our home, when our children go wrong, when our spouses have a different view, that 100% on both sides coming together to find a solution is the way we have to go. So those are just two I want to stick at.
I can't remember the exact chapter, but in Ephesians, and I did say it when I was giving the Christian perspective, when it speaks about the fact that the man should exercise self-control, patience, love, kindness, generosity, and wisdom in guiding his household. Now, if we are displaying this, if you are displaying self-control and you are patient and you are showing love and kindness and generosity and wisdom, and you are seeking the wisdom of God in raising your kids, then you can't go wrong. You know, and we have to also be, as men, we have to be open to learning. It doesn't take anything from us for us to learn, to say, oh boy, you know, I was wrong, or to pull back. You understand? I know the bruised ego, and sometimes, you understand, man a man, you understand? But sometimes you have to just step back and say, yeah, I was wrong. You understand? And you're learning something new every day. And it may be that, yes, you don't really want to admit it, but the woman is right. You know, and you should say so. Yes, I'm sorry. These are some words that men don't, I mean, really, you know, I'm sorry. They don't do that. You realize that sometimes, many times in a relationship, the children are seeking affection and the wife seeking affection. I grew up in a family where, you know, I had to work on myself, still working on myself, because I grew up where my mother and father were very frank. And I would get some tough love from my mom. My father was there financially, but he was like the village lawyer, and everybody looked up to him, and he's very cold. You understand? And I realized that I got very cold. You know, I realized that it's very easy for me to dismiss. And even when I got married, I realized that, and because, you know, I would have enjoyed some time of being on my own for quite a while, because I really enjoy myself, you know, I really enjoy being by myself. So I realized that there are many times my wife would have to say, hello, it's two of us in this relationship, because I realized that because I enjoy myself so much, you understand, I really have to push myself to spend time with them, with my kids, and with my wife. And so men, you know, and somebody mentioned earlier about sports. Yeah, you don't really want to get between a man and in sports, but you know, you realize that sometimes you have to pull yourself away from some of these things to spend time with your family. You know, you have to do what it takes to really build the relationship you have with both your wife, your partner, and your children.
Brother Grenion is correct. Sometimes as men, we get so caught up in work, we get so busy. I'm known for that. Going. And there are times I just have to pull myself away. And sometimes when I take vacation, just have to pull myself out that I could spend time with the family, or else you get caught up, even in the church. You get caught up with church matters and forget your home.
I just want to point out also that, you know, there are some stereotypes as men that we really need to get rid of. You know, I was brought up where you realize, you don't hold a woman's underwear. So there are many times when rain falling and my sister, them underwear got wet up because I now pick that up. You understand? I'm not going to supermarket. They don't dare call me and ask to buy no sanitary napkin. Oh, crazy. But now, see me now, I'm in the supermarket, my daughter called me, my wife called me. Oh, I need whatever it is, I'm on Facebook and video. Which one? You understand? And it's nothing, because you realize, boy, you know, these are little things, some little taboos, you really have to get rid of them. And sometimes we have some taboos that really hold us down that we really need to get rid of.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to understanding men's role in the church. Oh, one has a question?
Hi. The listening audience on YouTube. The question is, what practical ways can men implement to begin and maintain community presence? Bearing in mind that talking about men who may work various trade jobs or odd hours in terms of shift, how can they implement and begin to maintain community presence? Repeat the question.
No, I got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So, practical ways as it relates to community presence. For men, there are quite a number of things. For example, through mentorship programs, you can have things that you call a Big Brother program, where you're mentoring persons. Yes, you may work on a shift system, or depending on your working hours, you may not have certain time. But still, it's all about scheduling, being able to check into the person. If these young persons in the community know that someone is going to call them or check in with them even once a week, then they're going to seek to try to be on their best behavior. They're going to seek to try to do their best in school, because they know that as their big brother or as their father figure, as was mentioned earlier, a lot of them are going up with that father figure in their life, that big brother to really mentor them, or to really model behaviors and lifestyles that are supposed to make them productive citizens. And so things like helping them with their homework, other educational activities. When you have some time, you take them fishing with you. You organize to see that the young boys or the young persons, whatever they're interested in, let's say the boys, they like to be on their bikes. You can say, okay, let's form a little bike club. They get rewards. If they do well in school, they get the bike sprayed over, those kind of things. You have little activities where you have a bike-a-thon and those things. So you engage them, and that will take the mind off negativity and the bad company that they have, because they have something to aspire to. They know that you're going to reward them for their good behavior in school, on the street, and they know that you don't want to hear their names being called in certain things. So a little bicycle club, if they're interested in music, we have a lot of musicians around and so on. You bring them together once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever, teach them the instrument that they can, and that's a way of helping to make sure that we can continue to have musicians being made available to us. So whatever interest that they have and whatever skill set that they have, that we can help to reinforce and to build and further empower them, that's the way of making sure that we as men can transfer our skills to them. All right? So I hope that answered this question.
To add to what Brother Terry is saying, I see my men's president here, Brother Aaron, big up. One of the things that we have been doing, and he has been faithful even when nobody else turns up, in the Wesley Bastille Church, is adopt a community in terms of tailors. And, there's always a presence. The men would visit. And as I said, even sometimes if he alone, I think he probably knows every single household there. He keeps in touch. We have an outdoor Sunday school. And every single one of those kids, we keep in contact with them. We go in there, find out what is going on with the parents. We help them. We give scholarships, that sort of stuff. So you keep a presence in there so they know that, you care and stuff like that. And it's not always about just givings, because there are many persons who have issues. And they may ask for advice and that sort of stuff, and you make yourself available.
Yes, good evening. I must first of all congratulate the church for having such a panel discussion. I think it's very important, it's topical, and I think it would serve us well if we continue to have these kind of discussions. Gonya, you made a point that a husband should protect not only his wife and his children, not just physically, but protect her self-esteem, or protect the children's self-esteem. I want you to expound on that point for me, please. And there's some churches that encourage their leaders, like a priest, not to have a family, to concentrate mainly on giving spiritual advice. How do you reconcile that with your church? Just concentrate on giving spiritual advice. No family, no wife, remain celibate, and as I said, give spiritual advice to your members.
The second part is not clear. Could you say that again? The first part I got. The second part was not clear. Say it again, please.
The first part of the first question, or?
No, the first part you said about the self-esteem. You want me to explain? I understand that. But the second part you were saying something a while ago. It's not clear for me.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about the certain churches, like the Catholic Church, to encourage the priests to focus mainly on the spiritual part of life. They're not responsible for families. They can't go and get married. I was asking, how do you reconcile that with, say, your church? Do you think it's a good idea to have your church leaders to just concentrate mainly on the spiritual part of life?
Let me answer the second part first. I can't speak for the Catholics, but I do know if we are following the word of God, we are expected to deal with the whole man, not just the spiritual. I mean, it was Jesus himself who said if a man is cold, I mean, you don't say, oh, go be warmed and left while you have a couple jackets put on one side. I mean, be practical. You understand? So you want to make sure that you're going to be doing, you're meeting that. I can guarantee you that if you see somebody who is hungry and the person really is in need, and you don't even speak God, but you show kindness, that person probably find your church and find you, you understand? So I'm saying, I don't see how you can deal with one and not the other. It has to be holistic, right? So for the priest, I think in that setting, I don't know how to deal with it. But you have to cater to the entire man. Because right now, we know for a fact that if I have a physical need or an emotional need, it really doesn't matter what spiritual thing you bring to me. Right now, my woman left me, me are hurt. I don't want to hear nothing about God right now. You understand? I want to be here. And I'm not saying that you can't bring the word of God to bear, but you want a listening ear right now. You understand? Or if the fact that I have to pay some medical bills right now. You understand? How can you practically help me? I can guarantee you, if you're in your church brothers, everybody come together and help and make a donation. You would more likely win that soul than if you just say, God love you, God go take care of it, and then you understand. For the first part of it, there are some, and because you spoke about women, and I mentioned women, everybody struggles with something, and there are some women who may be struggling with, in terms, let's say your partner, your wife, self-esteem in the sense that there may be something, there are some persons who they are not so comfortable with themselves, or what particular area, you understand? Or they may have certain things about that they don't like, and they really feel insecure. And there are some men who use that to gain an edge where women are concerned. They beat it into them. They always remind them, you remember when you never have nothing, and me, and we're me. You understand? And so you always hold it over. And I'm talking about the fact, if you know that your wife is struggling with something, right? You are going to be there to hold the hand, to encourage. You understand? If your wife is someone who fears, and I'm going to use something simple, fears going to the dentist. You understand? And to help that person get over the fear, you go with the person, you hold the hand even as the person is in the chair. But I'm saying that many times they are struggling with issues, they are struggling with something. Your child may be struggling with something, right? And your way of dealing with it, get over that. You understand? Where that is not what the child wants. And so, really and truly, because you may deal with something differently, but the child right now really needs daddy. You understand, to give an understanding ear or just to rub the head or something. You understand? The wife just needs somebody to say, it's okay, honey, I'm here for you. That's all. Build up. But many times what we do is that because the person is struggling, we use it to our, I don't even want to say we use it to our advantage. We use it to our disadvantage because it's going to come back and haunt you. Yeah. You understand? So you use it and beat them down to, keep them loyal to you or whatever it is. But that's what I mean when I say that you have to be there in protecting, not just physically, but protecting, because if that self-esteem is crushed, you may never get her back. You understand? Or that child back. There are many persons who, because of what was happening to them and the person crushed them, I don't know if you ever feel crushed in spirit, there's no getting back. And so that's what I mean when I say you have to protect them in terms of their self-esteem and their self-worth, how they feel about themselves. You understand? It is there. Everybody laugh about it all the while, that you don't dare tell a woman that she's fat, right? Right? And so she may be struggling with something like that, right? But you're a man who taught the truth. And so you taught the truth, not caring how she feels, you understand? And so, so that's what I mean when I talk about that.
But when it comes to a child, it's a very delicate balance. You want a child to grow up to be tough. So you want to talk tough to him. How do you strike that balance?
Explain tough. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. I found out just about 2 years ago. I was a nice little boy as far as I know. And for some reason, when I just reached 13, my parents shipped me off to boarding school. I thought it was the worst thing ever. To this day, at 13, to this day, I've not been home, right? And it affected me. It was both good and bad for me. But it was about 2 years ago, my older sister told me really what happened. What happened was that I was very close to my mother. And my mother, I found out my mother and father were having frequent arguments over me because my father thought that my mother was treating me like a little girl, petting me up and treating me too soft. And so my mother, in order to save me, sent me off to boarding. So if you understand Jamaica, it was miles away. You understand? So I only saw my family every term and that sort of stuff because they wanted to toughen me up, and it really never helped. You understand? It did some damage to me that it took some time for me to get over. So you have to be careful when we talk about tough enough. We know that a girl fell, oh my precious, whatever the boy fell, get up your tough, man blow. No, you understand? Because really and truly you want to be there in that moment. Because, and again, remember I spoke about the whole thing of getting rid of some taboos. You have to get rid of some of this because you want him to be tough. No, you want a balance. You understand? You want a balance in that child's life.
Just to add, that's one of the reasons why you find that mostly the boys don't really readily express themselves, and they grow up like that, not really readily expressing themselves, even to their own wives and so on, or even to their bosses or persons in the community, because they were not taught to or encouraged to express themselves. We have to help young men in particular, not just the girls, to realize that we are emotional beings. I have seen where you're at a funeral and a gentleman is crying and people are laughing. What were you crying for? What you bawl for? His mother dead, you know. And then I say, what you bawl for? The man that's supposed to bawl, man, tough up. You know? And so we put people in a shell because we tell them that the man is not supposed to express his emotions. And that is dangerous, because then the wife cannot get him to express himself. The children don't know what's going on because everything is bottled up. And when that bottled up so much and the explosion happens, then there's a lot of danger that can come out of that. So we have to encourage them.
And we have to be careful because right now in my country, over the weekend, a big thing happening because everybody knows when you hear about Jamaica, you hear about crime and stuff, and they're having a crime problem. And so they had this national prayer breakfast. And the Prime Minister was there. And it was touching because the crime thing is getting under control. And the Prime Minister, because it's touching his heart, he cried. Big debate now, how by crying he's admitting to the criminals that they feel. You understand? And people bashing him because he look weak and so. Seriously? I mean, I think maybe if a lot more men cried, things would be better. You understand? But when them keep it, what I've seen, especially some guys that I'm counseling, because they have kept it on the inside. When it come out, you understand, it come out in ways that really is serious. And so, you know, we really have to get away. Man can ball, me ball sometime too. You understand? I tell you what, just last week, my mother, who I love dearly, was buried. And I remember my father died. I mean, I was close to my father, but not very close. And after a few weeks, I shed one tear, one. My mother died. And to this, I'm still trying to catch myself because, you know, you want to be strong for everybody and stuff. But when I started, because, the family got together, I didn't go. But we send the pictures in the chat and putting the program together. And I find that I can't even look at my mother's pictures for like 5 seconds. You understand? I just well up. And to some people, me soft. You understand? But I mean, really and truly, it means that you have not loved. You understand? Or you're lying to yourself, men, if you would think so, well, the way to go about it is that, man, if it's tough, you understand? And all them stuff. No, you have to sometimes cry. You understand? Your wife, your girlfriend going into the hospital, your mother, your children's mother, have to have a surgery. You understand? Have cancer or something like that. I mean, how can you put on a brave face at that time? You need the support and stuff, and if you need to cry, you need to cry. But we just need to get rid of these taboos.
Just quickly on the second part, we talk about our church view on where some men have decided to not to go into marriage and go into full-time ministry. And you find that a lot in the Roman Catholic churches in particular. As a Wesleyan church, we believe in marriage being man and woman. not man and man or woman and woman. Our principle, our core belief is as God created man and woman, therefore man leave mother and father and cleave to his wife. So straight up, that's our view on marriage. Some churches take the position, and some individuals take the position that they're going to forsake marriage on 2 points from the Bible. Matthew 19:12, where Jesus was saying that some are called to be unches, and some take the view of Paul, where Paul said in 1 Corinthians 7 and verse 7, and I just wanted to read it, that is what I was looking for here, where he said, for I would that all men were I would that all men were as I myself. But every man has his own proper gift of God, one after his own manner. Therefore, I said therefore to the unmarried and widow, it is good for them if they abide even as I. Paul was not married. He dedicated his life for the advancement of the gospel. And there's some from very young age who have that calling on their lives and have dedicated themselves for the advancement of the gospel. Why? Now, sometimes even in leadership and some in politics. I remember speaking to a particular politician, and he said to me, if he was married, some of the things he can do currently and the late hours of work and all those back and forth on the road as a politician, he might not have been able to do because he has to go home to a wife, he has to go home to children. And so some have given themselves full time to ministry because when a family comes in, there's a different level of responsibility.
Hi, a question from an online viewer. What are some pointers that you can give to men who are in the church in terms of conflict resolution, ways to resolve conflict within relationships?
And relationships, we're talking in terms of an intimate relationship or relationship with brothers and sisters.
Intimate relationship.
All right. Now, one of the things that I realize that a lot of persons get into relationships, I always advocate that if you're going to get in a relationship, get involved with your best friend, somebody you know. Many times what happens is that I like you, you like me, the chemistry is good physically, yeah, and so we realize that we get together and physically we're always good, but we don't communicate. I don't know your ideals, your plans for the next 2 years, we don't talk, right? And so we realize that later on, and we are not open, that's another thing, we're not open with each other. And so we don't build trust, we don't build a relationship, and then later on we realize that all these things come back to haunt us. Now, in any relationship, of course, you will have conflicts. How you deal with them, you have to go back to what is the root of the conflict, right? And again, you need to have trust. And trust means that you really have to open up and talk to each other. I know it's not a relationship obsession, but there are persons who believe when they are in relationship that my past is my past and my past alone. And I want to use this platform to tell you personally that's foolishness because your past now become my past. You understand now what affects? So me want to know. So no hide nothing because I always tell this story. There was this woman who had many persons before, many men before. And when you're in many relationships, you take on different personalities. Different persons come with different personalities. The man didn't know about it. They got married. They were having a conflict one day. And she was walking away, and the man reached out to grab her, and she flashed around, and she was angry. And he couldn't understand why, but that is how Richard always treated her. You understand? That is when everything started to come out. And I'm saying you have to get to the bottom of what started the conflict, and you have to be willing to listen. You understand? Let me read back this line that I have here, where it says that it spoke about the whole thing, that a woman who feels appreciated and listened to will certainly benefit the relationship. And not just a woman, a man, because men have feelings, they want to be appreciated too. And I'm saying here that many times there's some small stuff people have conflicts over, you know. So the first thing I would want to say is that what is the root of the conflict? Is it something that can be resolved easily? If it can't, I think the question spoke about Christian, then it means you may have to enlist a third party, your pastor. Well, not all pastors are counselors, I give that, but you may have to find somebody who you can trust, both of you, who is objective and who can bring a third party, who can help you along in the process. And many times persons believe, I remember some years ago I was doing a research about the need for postmarital counseling in the church. There are a lot of persons who believe or they don't believe in premarital counseling and they don't believe in postmarital counseling. It's between my husband and me, right? And it frustrates the hell out of both of you because you can't get past this, but you don't want nobody else to come in it. You need, as a Christian, you must be at the point where you can say, allowing the Lord to lead you, you can say, brother so-and-so, sister so, pastor, this is the situation. The reason why some people don't want to go, and I understand it, is because of how it go look and pride. And you don't want nobody know my business, but you want help, right? So if you want help, which one is it going to be? You don't want nobody know your business and you stay in the hell, or you put on the pride and move for the help. Sorry to give you that wrong, but it's how it is. If you have conflict and you realize you can't deal with it, you need to seek a third party that can help you.
You know, just to add inside it, even as pastors, sometimes, and even courtship and relationship in the church, sometimes our younger folks, all they see is that, man, the brother, the sister, they jump in, they serve in the Lord, they could pray, they could talk. But they're not looking for the other side of the individual. I remember one of our former district superintendent, former general, Dr. Job Ward. He was doing a session with the young people, and he says, if you're dating a young lady, yes, every time you all go out, everything is nice and dandy. He says, show up to the home maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes before you're all ready to go. Show up unexpectedly. And the reaction that you see there may be the reaction you have for a lifetime. I'm saying all of that to say sometimes as young Christians in dating, we only look for the spiritual side of the individual, but we don't dig behind. Because yes, we all come to church. And let's be real. We come to church and some of us put on the best show in the church. But when we go home, we're different beasts. And when the honeymoon effect is over from the marriage, the real you come out. Who you really, really be. You could only hide it for so long, right? But you're going to come out.
Just to add quickly, I think one of the things is that prohibits conflict being resolved is the fact that sometimes people are reluctant to regard it as conflict. And they're not honest enough to say, admit that there is indeed conflict. And if you're not admitting that there's conflict, it means that you're not going to be willing to do anything about it. So that's one of the things that also would hold back. So one, admit that there's conflict and address it in a timely manner. And also, in the event that you recognize that it is being prolonged and that it's not really being resolved, then you seek the help of a mediator or someone else who can help to be the middleman and get rid of it.
I have a question. So what happens if in your relationship your wife or your partner earns much more than you? What should you do?
Just glad. We're glad about it. And indeed, that is one of the issues we have in society. Again, it goes back to what we said earlier. We are such a male-oriented or male-dominated society. And I'm going to just start it this way. What if your wife says, okay, well, honey, since I may be the one working for more, stay at home and you look after everything. I remember even my wife and I, when we had to make the decision of moving, again, I said to her, well, hey, Both of us are in banking. Both of us are in banking. And the decision to move, yes, part of it will be based on salary. Whoever is making the highest salary and the bank wants you to move, hey, you move. And if it means that I have to be the stay-at-home dad, I will be. What comes down to that, as he said earlier, is 100% on both sides. And even as Christians, it goes back. How do you love each other? How do you understand each other? How do you communicate with each other? Because, see, even as Christians, we do all the Christian-like things, but the communication, the talking to, or talking with, not talking to, the talking with, we don't do. We're quick to pray. We're quick to read the scripture. But let's talk with each other. What's going on with you? What's going on with me? Now, sometimes my wife asks me some things, and I'm saying, Lord, do I really need to answer? Do you really want the honest answer? But so that things can go to the next level, hey, I got to fess up. And as Brother Orrit said, when your spouse get the truth, they love you even more.
Pastor Paxson, you made the point earlier on that you must first understand your role in the home and in the community before you understand. And then you understand your role in the church. Mm-hmm. We kind of conflict with a point made by one of the panelists that once you get holy, once you get connected to God, you'll be able to discern what God wants you to do. And so everything would flow nicely. But your thing is that understand the role, understand the role in the home and the community, right, and then the church.
And I put it that way because, you see, sometimes we want to be the bully at home. What we say, go. What we say, go at home. Hey, I'm the man, I make the final decision, and that's it. And then we want to come to church and come amongst other people and come off with that mentality, forgetting, hey, this is a whole different setting, eh? This ain't your house. And when you tell a sister or brother, hey, move, you watch it like, who you think you're talking to? So when you get things organized in your house, respect. One former boss man would always say, and I'll never forget it, he says respect is not demanded, it's commanded. And once you can respect people and respect flow both ways, you can say to a brother or sister in the church, can you move? And immediately they move. Okay? And sometimes maybe it's out tone, but they understand that you don't mean it anyway. That's part of how you speak. But that level of respect and things happen. So I'm saying sometimes we have some bad attitudes at home and it resonates in the church.
I don't know if they have this saying here in St. Kitts, but they have a saying home where it said, you have to learn to dance a yard before you dance abroad. And I think it was Jesus who said, if you come with a gift and you realize that a brother, and I guess it's the same concept, I don't see how you are going to find your role and function in the church when things bad a yard. You understand? You want to make sure that you sort out things in the house. Everything is, you understand, good. And I can guarantee you, it's just like in a relationship, if you and your wife cuss this morning, you can't go praise and worship. You're not going to feel good. But if everything good over there, so you jump and kick foot in a church. So it's the same thing. If you are having a really good relationship at home and within your community, you understand, everything is really on a level, it's good, then you will feel so much freer to serve and worship in church. It's not the other way around. Things can be bad out there and you freely, and anybody who does that, things are bad out there, but in the community and the home, but you're in the house jumping and serving God, I want to tell you, it's me personally, not the other panelists. That is false. You're pretending. Because I don't know what sort of worship that would be. You have to make sure that things are okay there. It may not be 100%, but you're working on it. Some of us don't even want to work on it, but then we come church, brother this, and they have this saying back home again that in front of you, your brother dog, and behind the back a dog. You understand? So you want to make sure that you are working on those stuff. You understand? Then you can truly be who you ought to be in the church.
Let me just add something to that as a clear example. Let us say, before coming out to church, you and your wife had a dispute at home, and you hit her or you said something bad, negative towards her. You are now on the platform as the song leader, and you're jumping and you're dancing and you say to the congregation, everybody stand and let's worship the Lord. But the wife sit down, she mouth push up and she ain't moving. All eyes off of you as a song leader. All eyes on her.
They begin to think things out.
Something wrong. As a Chinese man says, something wrong.
Just to follow, Gwendolyn, you also make the point that as a leader, a man should, as you said, take the lead, get in the game, create what he wants. You say what you get is what you give. But you also made the point that you have to give 100%. It's 100. You know, it's a 50-50. Where you get this 100?
Everybody put their all into it.
You know that 50-50 mean half, right? So it means I watch you. You understand? So me only go do this if you do that. You understand? But you must go in it fully. You understand? They go a full thing. And I'm hoping that my partner will give her entire best. Yes. But it can't be half-hearted or, me I go on watch and see what me go just do this to disappoint and I say, no. You go right headstrong, 100% in it.
You're committed. You're committed. So you see, because maybe sometimes one party don't start off as being fully committed as the other. But once, even if it is the man, and I shouldn't say even if it is the man, because you see, quite often, and we're now in a different society, but in the older society, or back then, it's the man who approached the woman. Now we have a society where even the woman asking the man for marriage. But if the man is the one who asks the woman for marriage, start out giving you all. And she's going to come alongside you and give her all. But if you only give 50%, I said to somebody some time ago, I remember, and I think even when I was here at Conaree, I shared it. I remember when I just left university, my wife and I, we weren't married then, and I had all of these school bills to pay. And so I went to the bank, took in excess of 10,000 US, and sent it back up and said, hey, can you pay all of my school bills? And that's it now. I left university, everything ain't going back. And I remember when I went back for graduation, as I landed, taxi dropped me to where I was going, and I sat down and I went by her. She said, okay, here's your receipt, and here's your change. That showed me as someone who's committed to integrity, someone who's committed to honesty. Because she could have said, well, look, man, you send me $10,000. I ain't paying the school fees. I'm from a different country. You ain't seen me again. That's it. But that shows someone who brought the 100% of honesty to the table, 100% of integrity. Before you come in my house, here's your receipt, and here's your change. And the change was not insignificant. So.
I want to say, I was talking about being a man in the home. I want to say that, as men, sometimes we have a brethren them, and things are going on. I did make the point about, step up, being a leader. Don't complain about it. Many times we run to our friends, and sometimes we're brethren know what going on at the house and the woman don't know. Right? So there's an issue, you share it with your brethren, they know, and then give you advice, sometimes bad advice. But the very woman you live with, your wife, does not know because you can't express it. You find it easier to express yourself with your brethren and stuff like that. And we have to stop it. You have to stop complaining about the issues. Take the initiative. Whatever the situation is, here it is. We need to deal with this, talk to. And even as I spoke about the whole counseling bit, there are some persons when it comes to counseling, we're going counseling, but you need counseling. You understand? And me, are you the problem? You understand? And we have to understand that we have to be open because sometimes we go to counseling and we hear some things that we may not necessarily like, but for the betterment of the relationship, you understand, you're going to work on it. But you have to be open to do whatever it takes to build your relationship, to build a relationship with your wife, with your children. You understand? And even when we talk about homes, because we know some homes, the doors open, so you have mother-in-law and other persons in there. But you have to do what it takes to build a relationship and not just be a man who provides financially. I never really had a really good relationship with my dad. He was there in the home, but he was there financially. My mom was the one who, anything, it was my mom. Mom. And then there are those fathers who go turn around and get jealous because it's always the mother, but you're never showing the love. You're not showing them no love, you're not spending time with them, so it's always the mom and things like that. And it's something we have to work at. You understand? And if you find that you're falling down in certain areas, you really have to work at it. I know it can be tough sometimes because of how we were brought up. You understand? Sometimes, again, the other thing I've heard men complaining about, as men we are, we get to the point. I want something down the Rams. I really don't care how much it costs. I go down Caravan, I know somebody need a pants. I go down there. I pay for it. Maybe I could get it for $60 every but $100 at this moment, I get gone with it. But your wife, you will move there and over. You go visit several stores to come back to number one, right? And you think, seriously? But we have to understand each, because after a while you understand how each other works, how each other think, you understand? And we have to give and take. So all the little stuff, we have to work them out. And sometimes we make some simple stuff become problems when they really don't need to be problems. Some stuff you can really laugh at. But the idea here in the home, you want to make sure that if you are showing humility, if you're showing love, you're showing kindness, all of that, and support, you understand? Then we know that you're on your way to building a really good and long and lasting family relationship.
I just want to add one more thing because it came to mind, and because while I was out and doing some spiritual refilling, one of the preachers said that sometimes as men, we follow the BCD mode. ABCD, but we follow the BCD mode. So I just script it here. We're quick to blame. We're quick to confront. And we're quick to defend our own actions. Sometimes we just need to step back, as Brother Ori clearly put it, and understand our own spouses. I remember one year going to shop with my wife. That's the time, back and forth in St. Martin. One shirt she wanted cost $10. So she found it in one store, and she said, look, let's walk. I think, it was a back street. We went from one end to the other end and come back. And I'm like, man, you spend the $10. And she found it for a difference of $1. And I'm like, I thought let's just walk in for $1. I know, we are man, we're quick to say, look, hey, man, just spend the money. I ain't in this back and forth. We were just out the other day in the U.S. doing some business. And in this trip, all right, I had to say, ladies, I'm holding my tongue. I just had to say, look, I'm holding my tongue. You hear the cards, you do whatever you want to do. And when you come back home, if there's anything, so when she came back home, I did not even ask, well, what is the balance? What is this? What is that? She came to me and she said, well, it is such and such. I said, okay. I tell myself in 2022, I want to live to see 2023, so some things, that's just the nature. You go ahead.
Yes. Terry did mention that men should become men of purpose, and they should protect and preserve lives and livelihoods. But there's a trend that we have all recognized that women are studying more than men at all levels in school. Even the West University, you would think, well, only Caribbean men are leaving behind. But West University, I think, is now almost 70% to 30% men to women. So the women they're studying more, they're owning more. Mm-hmm. Now, how would they be able to protect and preserve when the women are pulling the purse strings? How would you reconcile that with what is happening? And to the others too, how would that damage a man's self-esteem, knowing that the women are owning more than him?
One of the key things is that we have to work a lot on enhancing and empowering the boys, even from primary school, preschool, primary school come up, we have to begin to make sure that the virtues and the values are deeply rooted and embedded in them. So we have to help them to enhance their skills, help them to see who they are, and so that they would stray away from, because we know what is distracting them. We know the powers that be out there that are distracting the young men in particular. A lot of them, they're very skilled. A lot of them, I've known of some of them who have so many subjects that they would have come out of school with, but by the wayside, they would have dropped out, based on, again, the company and so on that they keep. So it's about, if we have programs in place, such as the Big Brother program, the Father Figure program, that can provide that measure of guidance and accountability for them, then they would recognize the need to pull themselves together. Because we have to help them to realize that they have the ability. They have what it takes, but it's just to apply themselves. And if we provide that measure of guidance and that measure of support, a lot of them sometimes, they're bright, as you would say, they have the skills, they're willing to move on. I know some of them who are willing to move on, but the resources with the family, as was alluded to earlier, the resources in the family, pull them back, so sometimes the money maybe is spent on, even just to go to CFB, the money is spent on the girl, but the boy now as soon as just going to find a job, or, at home, not able to find a job because he doesn't have, the required experience and things like that. So we too will have to find ways in which we empower them, we engage them, we help them to enlighten them as per their own personal skills and attributes that they have, so that they can really come up to par as to where they are to be. But we must be able to be consistent about that. Not just tell them, I'm supporting you today, and then tomorrow they can't find us. And we don't have to do it out of our pockets. We can make referrals. We can help them to hunt jobs. I would have taken some time to take some of them, to take them wherever, help them to realize that you're interested. They say, look, me watch, come, we're going tomorrow, we're going to look work. And we're not stopping until we find something. And you take them to the job site, or you bring the form and give them, and they fill it out. Or you say, you know what? One individual said to me, no, college I tell people about, I don't really want to do this, I don't want to do that. But I say you have to further yourself, because you have to lift yourself above the levels that you would have met, right? You have to break the cycle. And, get the form for them and sign up, and you say, you know what, reach out to certain agencies and so on. And he was able to get the funding that he needed. He needed to do that, right? As opposed to staying home and dropping out. So it's about the support that we can give and how consistent we are and reliable we are with providing that support.
I think, in addition to what Brother Morris has said, I think we also have to strike the balance in the sense that, sometimes you have these guys who they prefer to have a particular skill. They will tell you what's the sense of going to college or wherever it is when the money, they can, whatever skill they're doing, they can make so much more money. The other thing is that in a relationship, you spoke about these women who are earning more. Is it that the guy is not ambitious? Let's say the guy is a plumber. He may not necessarily he has his own business. He's good at what he does. And, with so many houses going up in St. Kitts, he's always going to get a job and things like that. And he's ambitious in that way, just that he does not want to particularly go and study. They have that understanding in their relationship. If they are cool with that, fine. We're not talking about those who are bums now, who just definitely don't want to do anything. One of the things that we're doing, even from the high school level, which is where the way in which we do things, it has to change, because when you have these students when they have to choose their subjects, then, you get the parents involved, and you make sure, you have these career workshops for them and stuff like that, and, point out the different stuff for them and encourage them. But I realize that the argument I get from a lot of these young men is that it makes no sense going to a CFBC or wherever it is when no job, or the job is going to pay them limited. You understand? They're not thinking about going up, they're thinking about here. If they're doing their electrical work or their plumbing work, they can make so much more. You understand? Than if they are what they would have spent at college, I think. But in terms of the relationship, if the woman and the man, they are able, and the man is not going to feel like his ego is bruised, because the woman is, I've always said, maybe I'm different, but I always say I wish my wife would earn more than me. I mean, I'm comfortable with that. You understand? As long as you have love and there is an understanding, and you're not a bum when you're working together, honest living, I'm doing my thing, she doing her thing, I don't feel intimidated that she earning way, way more than me. You understand? And I don't expect her to hold it over me because we are working together. I know that there are some women who have this thing which part, my money is my money and your money is my money. You understand? But as long as you're working together and you're building that relationship, I really don't see anything wrong with that. But in terms of these guys, if you can encourage them and what they want to do, it is offered here and they can see a path, by all means. But based on what I get, is the fact that just limiting it to St. Kitts, it's a case where it better may go do whatever it is. Right now, it's a struggle, I've always said, especially in terms of guidance counseling. In the high schools in St. Kitts, there are only 3 male counselors, myself included. You can't encourage, recently we had one male counselor who left the counseling, working with young people, he left that to go into furniture making and other stuff. Why? Apart from the fact that he loves that. You can make more money, you understand? And if you check it out, in terms of, Brother Morris can tell you, in terms of social work, probation stuff, we need to attract mostly women because get what, the money not enough. And that's the main thing for men. They want, you understand? So they're not ambitious, but it's the fact that I'll lick the money that what I get in a 1 week, you're getting a 1 month, you understand? But really and truly, as long as the guy is not a bum and he's ambitious, because I can be ambitious, want to be an entrepreneur and stuff. I may not go to the next level in terms of college, but I am ambitious, I know what I want, and I'm going after it. And if the woman is comfortable with that and they can work on the relationship in that, not a problem.
But even in the church, it brings balance because sometimes we see sisters, brothers in the church and people in the church. One may be quite ambitious, but as I said earlier, sometimes what clouds us is just that this person is spiritual, they're jumping up, they're singing, they're dancing. But getting down to the crux of the matter, who are they? I've always said to my wife, if I was younger and had it to do again, I don't think I would have gone the route of business. I would have gone and do the route of a trade, a skill. And that dawned on me. I remember one night I had a plumbing problem. It was Minister 7. And I had to call a plumber. Something broke off in the wall that I could have taken up, but I did not have the tool. Partner showed up with the tool. Take it out. And charge me in excess of $200. All he had to do was just take out the part. I did the rest to get my pipes and everything back on. I said, boy, if I had to do it again, I'd have learned a skill. And I said that to him. It's not about be you're academically inclined or you're skill inclined. Again, as Brother Everett put it, hey, are you ambitious? Are you ambitious? Are you motivated? I know of a friend that, and I want to be careful as I put it, he was here, so call it, as a bum, wasn't all that motivated. A particular young lady, white American, fell in love with him, went off to the US, and partner brushed up his skills so much. If you see what he's doing today, you'll be envious. It comes back, ambition. You must be motivated. And as men, be it in the church, we as men in the church must be motivated to give that leadership, to give that support, to give that encouragement. Whatever gift the Holy Spirit have endowed us with, we must be motivated to fill the lives of others.
Perhaps a suggestion comment to me, because would it be a financial decision? You said you have to live your life over again. You'll go for a trade. But maybe banking is your calling. Maybe you could help more people in banking. so would it be a financial decision, a decision of your calling? If you were to live your life over again.
Maybe it might have been a decision of my calling. One of the things I love about banking that I said to people, right now I'm into corporate banking. I miss personal banking. All because I could have sit with individuals and have that one-on-one. And, I remember some years ago, as a matter of fact, when I was leaving Conaree, a lady, She said she heard it on the radio that I was leaving. And she had to actually come and look for me and say, Parkson, thanks because it's you. I'm still alive. And that touched me. You know, at some levels, you are able to impact people directly. But what I do now is more corporate. And so maybe I miss the one-on-one touch and maybe the skills. You know, sometimes when you see all the little things you have to do at home, maybe it's just a pet peeve too. But yeah, I love that one-on-one that it could impact people.
That's interesting because I think one big role the church have to play is make sure people find their calling, find what God-given gift they have, and use that to help other people instead of focusing on owning money.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not easy to differentiate between the two, but you should be able to do that. Know what your calling is, and know how you can use your gift to help other people instead of focusing on making money, especially if your wife making more money than you. You want to make money. So you go and find another job, which you may not like, but you're making more money.
You see, for me in ministry, it's about impacting and developing people. When I started off ministry years ago, Sandy Point and Conaree, it was never about money, and even now it's not about money. Because ministry, if you're talking money, ministry ain't got in money. For me, the money is to be able to see people uplifted to another level. That somebody come back to me and say, boy, years ago you said something that encouraged me. You said something that took me on a spiritual path, and you also said something that have helped to develop my own life. The congregations I've served would tell you a lot of the things I do, it's not just about the spiritual. I believe in building the whole man. I could make you spiritually strong, but boy, you're an infidel when it comes to your house. And if all I'm focusing, that's me, I'm not speaking to any other pastor, if all I'm focusing on is just the spiritual side, then for me, I'm not effective in developing you as a church, as a man, as a congregation.
Question to you, Pastor Parkson. What can men do to develop their gifts in the case where they are uncertain as to what their calling should be?
If you're uncertain where your calling should be, and there's a difference at times, not at times, there is a fine line between your skill and your calling. Some of us may have the skill of good listening ear and be good counselors. Some of us may have the skill of being good teachers, but maybe that's not where the Lord wants you for. So if you're going to really find your calling, it must start with prayer. Lord, here am I. Where do you want me to go? Part of it is a sacrificial decision, because the Lord may be calling you into missionary work. The Lord may even be calling you into the hospital to serve as a nurse. The Lord may be calling you to a level of service where you may not be available for marriage. Look at our Mother Teresa. She was called to serve the underdeveloped, and she sacrificed marriage. She sacrificed all of that to serve others. So, yes, if you're going to find your calling, it starts with prayer. Lord, where you want me to go? It then goes the second level of having a bigger brother, spiritual brother, who can dare to help groom you and guide you, not imposing their desire on you, but seeing where you're going and help to pull that out.
Right.
Okay? Because I may say, well, look, I want you to be pastor, but that's not where the Lord is calling you. The Lord may be calling you to be a teacher. And if I see that skill in you, I need you to pull that out of you and not impose. So once you've prayed, once you see, it's now for you to let yourself go and allow the Lord to use you. quite often when people then see where God wants them, they're a little resistant. But it's for them to trust the Lord and say, Lord, this is where you want me to go. You're the God that's going to lead me down that path. You're the God that's going to provide. It's faith, it's sacrifice. So I'll sum it up that way.
To add to that, one simple way that my pastor spoke to me about the calling, Reverend Herbert, he said, get involved. Yes. Get involved in the different ministries. If you sit on the fence, you won't know. Yeah. So get involved, and then as you get involved, you may find that you're being pulled towards a particular thing or two. So the simplest way, get involved. Yeah. And as you serve, the Lord will make it clear.
Yeah. That's it. Same thing. Yes.
That's true. Of course, you do know that men communicate differently. So you and your girlfriend may be on the phone for 2 hours, and me and Pastor Parks, boy, you know, yeah. But it's true. Enough of that is not done. And some men are not open to that. You know, again, we have to get away from how we were schooled. Remember, we were schooled in the sense that some years ago I read this book where it said men are from Mars, women from Venus, where, you know, when certain things happen, men retreat to the cave. What happens when you and your spouse in an argument? Hardly you find a man who cuss out and go on. I mean, I don't say they don't, but most men do what? They recoil, don't it? They go by themselves or then jump in the car and go look for the bottom. You understand? So that is how you were, you were brought up and socialized and stuff like that. But it's true. And I think even from the church, you understand, and that is one of the reasons why this is a really good thing, for the men's society, where we are there to encourage each other, and we can be there to strengthen each other, and then from there, we can move out to the communities. But the truth is, if you do know of an issue, let's say a brother having an issue, I may not think that I am suited to deal with it, but Brother Pox maybe. So I may say to Brother Pox and Brother Terry, me see him look whatever, and they have a better relationship. So we have to move to that point now where we can say, even though, I guess in a sense, it's an informal way of referring. You understand? So we are referring the case where I am not able to, but Brother Terry and Brother Paxton closer. So, hey, me think there's something I'll go and talk to him. But it's true.
Just to add, and how the church can help with that is concerned. As Wesleyans, a number of our churches have couples ministry. Like how we have the youth group and the women group, we have the couples ministry. Yeah, as husbands and wife, get out to the couples ministry, because you could learn from another couple. Iron sharpeneth iron. There may be a problem in my marriage, and I don't want anybody to know, and I'm struggling to deal with it, but hey, all right, might have had the same problem, and he shared how he dealt with it. I could go back home and me and my wife take some things and make better without making it public. So you're right. A number of us as men, we don't speak. And we need to start to be open, even open to our spouses. As my wife says to me the other day, one of the problems I have with you, when you're sick, you don't talk. And I've said to myself, in 2022, I have to step up. I was home doing something, she was outside. I got hurt, and I did not say. And when I went to do my physical in the US, the doctor said to me, something is wrong. Did you hurt yourself? And I said, yeah. And she watched me. But I'm saying that to say, as men, we like to put a number of things in the back. We're macho. We're not going to say, oh, the wife can't deal with it, so don't say. But if we're going to advance our relationships, if we're going to advance our standing in the community, we got to open up and talk, because as we share experiences with other men, it adds value to their own lives.
You know, Brother Terry said something earlier which is really true, because we see it in the schools. When it comes to PTA, a lot of father is a mother thing, so the fathers don't come. And I'm saying for those online and those listening here, listen, show up. Show up for your kids. And most times, the parents who show up is not the ones we want to see. You understand? And so it is not a woman thing, it is not a mother thing. You need to be a father, you need to step up, whether you be a stepfather. Another thing that I realize, and maybe sometimes the men pull themselves out, I realize quite a lot, especially when counseling with these young people. I don't know if it is something that is said or unsaid, but if mama is with somebody who is not daddy, is a stepfather, you can't talk to me, you're not my father. And I have a hard time counseling these people. I say, listen to me. It is unfortunate that mommy and daddy are not together. But this man, and there are so many stepfathers and stepmothers who are better than the biological one. And I'm saying you have to understand, if mommy has taken on to herself a man, or daddy taking on to himself a woman, that is mommy, that is daddy. Look at it the other way. You are blessed to have two daddies. You understand? But I realize it's a thing where, and sometimes the stepfathers now, or the stepmothers, they may step back because I know my child. You understand? But let it not be said as men that this is the case, especially Christian men. No, you happen to be with the woman, you have a stepdaughter, a stepson, be a daddy. You understand? Go to school, represent them, find out what is going on. And you don't have to wait until teacher call you and stuff like that. Talking from an educational point of view, come in and come check up. You understand? See what is going on. Talk to them about them schoolwork and stuff like that. Show interest. If you don't show any interest, then you don't know what they're going on with, you don't know what they're doing, and then they just slip through and you wonder how. Right under your nose in the house, they're doing certain things and you're not aware. So get involved in the lives of your kids. Can you use the mic? Yeah, man, so we can hear.
Yes, you mentioned about fatherlessness. I think it go back to how we as mothers raise our children. We equip our daughters to be mothers, but I find we don't equip our sons to be fathers. We'll buy our daughters cooking sets and we buy them dolls, but we'll buy our sons a truck or a ball, if you understand what I mean. You know, and I think that have a lot to do with it, so I encourage us, you know, to raise our boys differently, knowing that they won't always be boys, but we are raising husbands and fathers.
But that's true. That's an excellent point. You know, the socialization, and sometimes, you know, we are guilty of it because as a girl, staying in the kitchen, boy, I go and go play, you know, and that sort of stuff and thing like that. You know, but really and truly, we need to have a balance, right? We really need to have a balance, and I know that when you are there, present in your child's life, and you strike that balance, and you're bringing them up, showing them right from wrong, and telling them what to do, how to treat a young lady, how to treat, what to expect from a man. You understand? Many times they form their opinions because of what they see in the relationship. You know, I've had situations where the boy, this little 13, 14-year-old boy, is the man of the house because almost every year mommy have a different man. And so you have daddy this year, and next year is a different daddy. So him now take on the responsibility, and you know, he's the man of the house and stuff like that. And so because he gets from that what he thinks a man should be, or the girl may get from that how a woman should be treated and that sort of stuff. But yeah, we really need to strike the balance and really be there to. And sometimes we put so much pressure on these, forgetting that they are kids and teenagers, and we want to put adult stuff on them, you know. But we really need to be there to support our kids and make sure that they know that you love them and you are there for them.
Okay, thank you for that question. As we wind down, I would like to get from the panelists one word that basically captures each area and the last word of advice.
I want to sum it this way for the sake of the church. we are all laborers together. We are all laborers together in ministry. Some of us are the hand, some of us the foot, some of us the shoulder. And we must work together, be it you man, be it you woman, if God's ministry and kingdom will advance. And as I said, if men would take a role in the church, it must start at home, community, and then the church. So I want to say to you, may the Lord bless you and may the Lord keep you as a congregation.
I would suggest the word would be purpose. As men, the role that we play in the community, we have to ensure that persons see us as instruments or as people of purpose. We have to be actively involved in what's happening, not just with our children, but with the children of the community, with the young boys, with the young girls, with the community in general, so that as we contribute our time, as we contribute our skills, our efforts, and our interests, then we are going to see the results. So it's all about ensuring that we tailor our reach in order to get results.
Being a man in the home is much more than just providing money. There are some soft skills that you need to make sure that you have in place. The tenderness, the love, the understanding, general care, humility, these sort of stuff. And you want to make sure that you're communicating, right? Things will not always be rosy, but as a family you can work it out. Be there for your wife, be there for your partner, be there for your children. You play a very vital role. And as men, I can't encourage you enough. Don't step away, don't walk out on your partner, on your children, be there for them. And if there is an issue, a third party can help. Seek help, but try to be consistent in building a very good, healthy relationship with your family.
At this point in time, we'll have a vote of thanks by Brother Beyond.
Good night. Good night, everyone. As you heard, it's my time to say thank you. And first of all, I want to say thanks to Almighty God for allowing this event to happen, allowing us to be here tonight. We also want to thank God for the gift of knowledge. Okay? Let me put your hand to God. Secondly, we want to give thanks to the panelists, for accepting the invitation to come and share their wisdom with us. It's one thing to have knowledge, but when you use the knowledge to impact others, it's another thing. So let us put our hands together for Brother Owen Gwenyon, Pastor Carlton Paxson, and Brother Terry Morris. There had to be, organization, someone keeping order across the board. So thirdly, we want to give thanks to our moderator, which is Brother Wendell Edwards. We also want to give thanks to the technician working in the background, the technicians, with them we had sound, and they made it possible for us to have our online streaming as well, to benefit those who choose to view or join us that way. So let us put our hands together for the technicians as well. Lastly, we want to give thanks to you, the audience, whether in person or online. Without you, this event wouldn't be what it was. Okay, without you, they wouldn't have no one to share to or share with. Okay, so let us put our hands together for ourselves as well. I think it was a real fruitful, discussion, a real fruitful panel discussion. Okay, so just give it up one more time for the event itself. We now turn back over to the moderator to bring down the curtains.
Thank you very much, Brother Beyond. Everybody, thank you for coming here, and the panelists also, the audience virtually and in person. I just want to say, as we go back to our homes, we really think about what was discussed here tonight, and we apply it to our lives. Okay, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.
Before we go, I just want to say thanks again for the invitation, and I look forward to more stimulating conversations, and hopefully you were okay with my attendance and you'll invite me back. But this was a good relaunch, and I love it.